Welcome back to the Canadian Virtual Sell Your Business Conference. My name is Marc Belaiche. I'm president of TorontoJobs.ca and TorontoEntrepreneurs.ca. Hope you've been enjoying the event. We've got a great panel coming up shortly, and before we're doing that, you still have you will have 10 minutes after the conclusion of this panel to still go into the expo area and the networking area if you'd like. So we will be finishing at 10 after 4 or so. So thanks very much for being on. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to connect with other people. I've had a chance to meet a number of people through the networking area, so a lot of fun and great to connect with as many people as we have been over the last hour and a half or so. So welcome to the panelists. I'll introduce them one at a time, and then we will talk. If you have any questions for anybody on the panel, feel free to post them in the chat, either in the event or in the stage, and I'm happy to moderate them from here. So Ashley Manis is Vice President M&A Scandinavia at Lynx Equity Limited. Thanks, Ashley, for being here. And perhaps you can start give yourself or give people an introduction about what you are, what you do, your organization, and a little bit about your background as well, please.
Sure, absolutely, and thanks for having me. So Lynx Equity is a private equity fund based out of Toronto, Canada. We have over 50 businesses across North America and Europe as well. Our focus is on buying small and medium-sized businesses from owners who are looking to retire, and with a buy and hold strategy. So really looking for stable businesses that we can reasonably expect to continue that stability going forward indefinitely. And I guess I manage all of our acquisitions and then post-acquisition as well in Northern Europe. Currently, we have 4 businesses in Denmark and continuing to expand there and in neighboring countries. Typically at our firm, after the acquisition, the operations team jumps in, but because we have a smaller group in Europe currently, I sort of do both sides of the process.
Yeah, terrific. And thanks very much for being here. Melanie Russell is president of Kalex Valuations, Inc. Nice to see you again, Melanie. And perhaps you can give people an idea also as to what you do and about Kalex.
Sure. Hi, Mark. Thanks for inviting me. I put my contact details into the chat for anyone who's interested. But I am a sort of legacy CA, but I practice in the valuations and forensic field. So doing valuations both for notional, hypothetical situations, dispute situations such as partnership disputes, transaction disputes, estate disputes, family law disputes, but also transactional support such as pricing analysis, financing assistance, quality of earnings, etc., and damages reports as well. Thanks.
Terrific. And Nunzio Presta, founder and CEO of Buy and Sell a Business. Nunzio, nice to see you again as well. And perhaps you can give people an idea as to your background and buy and sell a business as well.
Yes, thank you, Mark, and great to be here. So buyandsellbusiness.com is pretty self-explanatory. Started the mission in university when I was looking to sell my own business, and I was hit with so many barriers to trying to sell my little business that no one was really interested in helping me sell. Fast forward to today, we've created this really dynamic, resourceful, and supportive marketplace where buyers and sellers can connect with each other. So we play that matchmaker role. We have over 40,000 in our community. We've connected over $2 billion in transactions to date with a 40% success rate, so double industry average. And we like to think that it's all because of our marketing strategy and our main thesis. And our main thesis is around making sure that people understand what entrepreneurship through acquisition is all about. That you don't have to be an entrepreneur only by starting something. You can be an entrepreneur by buying something that exists and growing it to the levels that you want to grow it to. So our main narrative and thesis is really around us believing that a better future and a stronger economy really starts and finishes with the transition of these small micro businesses that are looking for under 5 million. So we're out there every day just trying to help make sure that these sellers can exit and these buyers can find those lifestyle businesses that they want.
Excellent. So Ashley, maybe back to you. You mentioned about Scandinavia, or your portfolio includes European companies. What do you see? Maybe some of the differences between Canada and Europe, perhaps when it comes to selling a business or buying a business. Maybe people watching are looking to expand to Europe and they want to acquire something. What tips would you have for them?
I mean, I would say overall, there aren't very material differences. You know, on a practical note, understanding, you know, financial statements in a different geography, language, you know, can be a barrier. You know, things you don't necessarily think of in advance is, you know, the time zone. I mean, time zone changes. So, you know, you're trying to get stuff done really quickly and, you know, you've got a limited amount of hours in the day that overlap for phone calls and stuff like that. Translation times, you know, that adds a bit. Obviously, that's more of a factor in Scandinavia than it is in the UK in terms of the translation. But overall, I'd say, you know, the fundamentals are the same. You know, you find good people and bad people everywhere, same good businesses and, you know, not so great businesses. And I think the process is the same. You know, for us, it's really focusing on the person who's selling the business. You know, we really feel like that culture starts, you know, from the top. And if it's, you know, a good person who really cares about their business and cares about their people, that's what we're inheriting. So we spend a lot of time, you know, focusing our due diligence on that sort of qualitative aspect of it. Obviously, you know, the quality of earnings reports, the legal, you know, red flags reports. I mean, that's the same no matter where you go as well. And so, yeah, overall, I'd say the process is more or less the same. Of course, you kind of have to do a bit of research on cultural nuances. You know, there's, you know, things that are appropriate in one place versus another. I mean, I learned very quickly in Denmark, for example, and it turned out to be positive, but, you know, everything is very to the point there. So there's no pleasantries in emails the way that we're used to. You know, it's like a paragraph before you get to the content of your email, asking someone about their weekend and, you know, what's going on with their kids. And in Denmark, it's like, where's this? Where's that? What's going on? You know, and I had to get used to it because initially I was thinking everybody's angry at me all the time. But down the road, I got a couple of people saying, it's so nice to get emails from you. No one's ever asked me how my day was going. And so, you know, but that being said, I mean, that's a positive example. I'm sure that there are examples where you know, can offend people with your, you know, style that's acceptable. So I'd say, I think that's probably the biggest potential difference is just making sure you know what's proper and what's not in different places. But again, you know, you inevitably are working with advisors, you know, whether it's a Nunzio, Melanie, or whomever, you know, your legal team, wherever you are, and you know, relying on them to also guide you through stuff like that is important wherever you are. You know, they know the client or the geography. So I think.
And why did you expand there? Like a Canadian, you guys are a Canadian company. Why did you pick that area?
Well, so we first, beyond Canada, expanded into the States, primarily until recently it started growing beyond the West Coast, but we're mostly in the West Coast in the US, and we find the sort of business culture very similar to the Canadian style, more so than New York style business climate, for example. And then the first country outside North America was the UK, and that was just because we had a colleague who was moving there, and so, you know, started expanding, you know, sort of organically, for lack of a better word. And Denmark, honestly, I was there on holiday and thought I got to figure out a reason to come back here, and started doing research and found that it is quite similar to Canada. And in a lot of respects, they have a similar relationship to sort of Sweden and Denmark, you know, Canada and the US. And so there was an interesting understanding there. But for us, you know, a big market of small and medium-sized businesses, you know, similar to a lot of places, you know, people are not passing down their businesses to their kids the way they used to, or more so because, you know, people are doing what they want to do as opposed to just following in a family business footsteps. And so there's a huge opportunity for us. The market was, yeah, and also very stable. So, you know, for us as long distance owners, you know, there's a lot of stability. Trust is very highly, you know, regarded in Denmark. So this worked out.
Excellent. And Melanie, I know we've talked about this issue before, so I wanted to, you know, maybe bring it up about the importance of having someone like you on the team when you're looking to acquire or looking to sell a business. Maybe you can kind of outline, you know, kind of what someone like yourself would do, how you can help, like the importance of having someone like you on your team, on a team.
Yeah, I think it depends a lot. So I think someone like me, I'll just refine that as someone who's got some financial understanding, modeling ability, understands, you know, the relationship between, you know, cash flows, risk, opportunity, able to understand agreements, legal agreements, deal with all the professionals involved, and sort of can deal with a number of different aspects. So I'll say the importance of someone like that will depend on the situation. And if you're talking small and mid-sized businesses, you're talking about business owners who are probably great at what they do, but they don't understand how to sell a business or how to negotiate, et cetera, or how to price it. They don't understand their own value. So sometimes it's as basic as bringing a valuator in and saying, okay, I don't know if my business is worth $5 or 5 million or 500 million. I have no idea. So starting from that point, and sometimes even starting before that by saying, okay, one day I'm not going to be around and I don't know what I'm going to do, but it would be nice if I could get something from this business. It would be nice to continue on, or it'd be nice to have a place for my employees to go. It'd be nice to get some money so I can pass on to my kids, a charity, whatever. So starting even earlier on saying, if I am, one day I will get to that point of either dropping dead or doing something with a bit of plan. So how might I do that? How might I plan ahead for a few years to get to the point I want to be? And what kind of steps? So what am I looking at now? How can I improve things? And then thinking of some options like, is it time to do some tax structuring? Should we maybe speak to a tax accountant or a tax lawyer? Is it time to consider bringing in some, there's some important employees here, don't have agreements, or they're not necessarily they're not bought into the business. They could walk away. So do you want to consider bringing in some kind of employee share ownership plan? So those kind of planning stages. And then when you get to the point of making that decision to sell, someone like us can help do that kind of pricing analysis. You're going to do a dance with potential purchasers as who's going to come up with a number first. Do I have to spit it out, or are they going to come up with an offer? Well, most likely you're going to have to spit it out first as a starting point. And then what kind of agreements do you need? Do you need a letter of intent? What do you need to get? And how do we fix things up before and what kind of team do we need? And it even might get to, if someone's really, really proactive, thinking about getting someone like me doing a quality of earnings reports or some financial diligence that you can pass on to the potential interested parties. And also giving some ideas of who might be interested parties, right? Because there's so much, as Howard, I was listening to Howard Johnson, as Howard said, there's so much dry powder out there, and there's so many potential purchasers. You've now got family offices that are big time investors. You've got tons of private equity firms, venture capital, competitors. You've got individuals. I get contacted all the time. Do you know any businesses that are interested in selling? So helping them understand what the marketplace looks like and how you might structure a deal. So that's that side. But then a purchaser, again, depends on how sophisticated they are. I'm working with one person right now who has never done a deal, but now has a line on a deal and is bringing in me to help out with. I've referred them to the person who's going to do the financing. I'm doing the quality of earnings report for the finance. I'm talking about the terms of the deal and making suggestions. So, someone who's not a sophisticated purchaser needs more help than, a private equity firm that has in-house valuators and financial people. So various ways that someone like me can help out with either small pieces or a bigger package.
Great. Good to know. That's a great summary. If you're just joining, my name is Marc Belaiche. I'm president of TorontoJobs.ca. The panel, Melanie Russell, president of Kalex Valuations, Inc. Ashley Manis is vice president, M&A Scandinavia at Lynx Equity Limited, and Nunzio Presta is founder and CEO of Buy and Sell a Business. So Nunzio, and if you have a question, by the way, throw them in the event or in the stage chat. I'm happy to moderate. So Nunzio, maybe we can talk about what you're seeing, maybe pre-COVID. Now, I don't know if we're current COVID, post-COVID, who knows, but kind of where you're seeing the swing. Like, are there more purchasers that you're seeing than sellers, more sellers than purchasers? Is it evenly balanced? Like, where do you see it now?
Yeah, thoughtful question, and thanks for that, Marc. During the pandemic, what we started noticing from our platform is less deals were happening, but there were more lucrative deals. So it was bigger deals. We saw our average, transaction value go from 150,000 to over 500,000 within months during the pandemic. And what we started to realize was, with a lens on the micro market, so these very small mom and pop shops, what we started to realize was the smallest of the micro businesses were actually shutting down and not even giving it a chance to work out. And the bigger of the micro markets were actually finding a way to survive and thrive, as long as they could. Fast forward to now, what we've started noticing, 16 months of this has really played a massive, it's played a massive role in burning out these business owners. So what we're seeing now, and it's just starting to happen, like within the last, I say, 30 to 60 days, is a ton of sellers coming to market, especially in the micro market, because they're burning out and they want to exit. And like I said, there are other options on the table, whether it's a management buyout or family succession isn't there. So they're looking for a third party purchaser, and they're coming to the market now. And that's pretty good, because there's still a big significant chunk of people and buyers, especially on our platform, that are looking for an existing business to buy, especially, whether they're coming off of unemployment or they decided they want to be their own boss. We're seeing a substantial amount of buyers stick around. I think last time we checked our data, 98% of our user base are actual buyers, thirsty and ready and looking for opportunities. So we're excited, because that massive user base of buyers is going to start to meet a wave of tired business owners looking to exit and sell.
Cool. So kind of open to anybody on the panel, and that is what you're seeing mistakes that sellers are making, given today's event, Canadian Virtual Sell Your Business Conference. So what are you seeing selling? And then I'll ask the same question on the purchase side. So what do you guys see as mistakes that sellers are making?
Obviously understanding that I'm coming from the opposite side of this, but I don't know if I would fully use the word mistake, but what we're definitely seeing a lot more and more now is expectations of a lot of sellers seem to be benchmarked to, the deals that they're seeing in the papers and on the public market. And, everybody who has some use of a computer in their office seems to, evaluate themselves based on all the tech deals that they're seeing. And I think, partially there seems to be there is a lot of cheaper money out there right now. And I think that maybe this is back to answer your question on the buyer side. I don't know that everybody is necessarily looking at the fundamentals of the businesses in a very critical way, or the way that we would typically look at it. So I think that, pricing has gone up overall, but I think, just unrealistic expectations from what I'm seeing. And this is a conversation I've had, even with some brokers who are seeing the same thing. Like, I spoke to someone at one of the big accounting firms in Denmark, and he was saying, like, we couldn't believe some of the offers that we were getting for our clients. And at that, their clients are passing because it's not, 12 times, and they saw someone else get 12 times. So they don't want to take 10 times, and a few years ago, they would have been thrilled to get a client 5 times, and I'm sort of making up numbers, but so I think that's sort of the mistake. And, I don't know about holding out to match what you're seeing in the news is the best approach if you've got a good offer and you've got good advisors, most importantly. And, as Melanie was saying, the average person sells one business in their life, presumably, especially in the size market that, we're talking about. And so listen to the people around you who are, guiding you, and don't, listen to, again, the internet all the time. Well, not to belittle Nunzio's site, but you see all these things and it seems so exciting and you want to go after that sort of pie in the sky offer. But if you've got good people around you, they'll advise you what makes sense and, go for it in a realistic way.
I like to add to that too. And you're absolutely right. Like one thing that we love to own is we like to own that we are that matchmaker, that due diligence and that offline relationship towards that purchase and sale, we're always referring out to our partners. So we like to own just being that matchmaker. But you're absolutely right. You need to lean on the professionals for that advice, because this is either the first or second biggest purchase or sale in a person's life. But what Ashley was talking about is something we kind of see as well. We were talking about it before the panel. Is these sellers have their expectations are a little unrealistic. There has to be this understanding that what they're seeing on Wall Street or Bay Street, it doesn't really reflect Main Street businesses, and you need that guidance in order to really align your expectations. And from a buyer perspective, what we're seeing a lot through inquiries and just questions that come into our marketplace is buyers. Their mistake, or what we're seeing a lot, is they're trying to purchase a business for today, and they're really not reflecting on the future opportunities of that business. So they may be buying a great business today, but it doesn't mean that that's going to be a great business 2 or 3 years from now. So we're always trying to make sure we guide them properly by introducing them to the right professionals that can give them that perspective.
And I'll add a couple of comments to that. That's okay. So what I've seen, one is the seller. If the question is what are sellers, what mistakes they're making, one is not being ready to sell. And sometimes that's emotionally ready because they don't really see that once they're no longer in control, they're no longer in control. It's done. And they've got to come to grips. It's like a coming to Jesus moment that once they're gone, they better have something else on the other side, or they're just going to be miserable. Another common thing, or cleaning up, a really, really, really big problem is being on the cheap and either having notice to reader statements or not, like no assurance on them, and assuming that a purchaser is going to come in and believe what you say. It's just not. That's what diligence is for. Purchasers may initially believe what you say or give some credit to it. They're not going to rely. They're going to do a lot of diligence. So get your house in order and get the books and records in order, because there's so many deals that just die because the trust is gone once someone starts doing the diligence and seeing what a mess is there. And if they found messes, they wonder what else is there. Another common problem is vendors expecting to walk away with a pot full of cash and into the sunset, never have to deal with anything again, never answer questions, not have to help out with the transition. Ain't gonna happen. And another I saw this in a recent where I helped out the deal finally closed, but the deal took probably 6 months longer than necessary. And one of the issues was that one of the parties, and this was the vending party, had inexperience with and in particular, this was a lawyer, and probably great lawyer, but didn't know the M&A space, and just was just back and forth, wasting time and wasting money. So make sure you get professionals involved that know what they're doing.
Sorry, if I can jump in on that, and that is absolutely something we experience quite often, and I think overall, to the detriment of the seller, when I kept saying your trusted advisors, and I, a lot of people have their, will and estates lawyer that they've had their whole life, or whatever it is, business management type people. And that's fantastic. But those people should also be able to refer you to a proper, M&A team, because exactly as you said, it just takes longer and longer and costs a lot of money on both sides. We've had a lot of cases where we basically are paying half the legal bill for the seller because our lawyers are explaining to their lawyers what everything means. And unfortunately, in most cases, with all due respect, that lawyer is not going to their client and saying, I have no idea what I'm talking about. They're saying they're difficult, they're causing, all this grief, this is going on and on and on because of them. And listen, maybe sometimes that is the case, but overall, I think that your point is very well made. To have the right people, in place advising you will also, might seem like it's costing a bit more money at the outset, but overall, I think it's a wise financial decision to have the right team in there advising you and who has experience.
You're on mute, Marc.
Did you hear me? Real quick around the room, I'll just go ask each of you. First thing that comes to your mind as to what you're seeing as to the number one reason why a deal doesn't go through. You got a buyer and a seller. What's the most common that you see as to why what it is? To see if there's some kind of consensus. Ashley, what do you think?
I think often it does come down to preparedness and availability, of all the documents. I mean, I know we ask for a huge amount of information, but the stuff that we're asking for shouldn't be overly complicated. And so I think, leading into the process, be prepared, have, historical financial statements, have all your ducks in a row, as Melanie was saying, so that when people are asking for stuff, you can get that stuff quickly. Also for us, sometimes, we find out through the process that it's next to impossible to generate, data from someone's accounting system, that we need. I mean, that doesn't really make us so excited to do a deal with a company. If they can't, if you assume that during the sales process, it's like the dating process, right? You're at your best. You're doing things as quickly as possible. If it takes, forever to get, historical financial information, what's going to happen when you've already received your pay, your sales price, and, then we're pulling teeth, on a monthly basis. So I'd say it's stuff like that. It's those delays and lack of being prepared that just sort of for us is a foreshadowing of a potentially very difficult future.
Yeah, so not being prepared and not having the documents available when needed, right? Melanie, what do you?
I would agree. Lack of preparation, but also misunderstandings for whatever reason. And sometimes that comes out of a poor planning, but I put those two summary points.
Okay, Nunzio, what do you?
What we notice, just to go a little bit deeper, is one reason why we see a lot of deals not happen is because the business is really dependent on the owner. And this happens a lot in the micro market. A lot of these small mom and pop shops, they create a business that isn't self-sufficient. So we're always having conversations around making sure people understand that there's a difference between a valuable business and a sellable business. And if you want to sell a business, or even if you don't want to sell a business, you want to always be in a position where you can sell, God forbid. You want to create a self-sufficient business. And that really talks about creating, these principles and processes and values in a culture that could survive and thrive if another business owner were to step in. So you want to start thinking like that, because the moment that a business is very dependent on one stakeholder, whether it's one business leader, one client, one employer, one supplier, there's a lot of vulnerabilities, and that usually does tend to kill a deal in the micro market.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much to each of you. Melanie Russell, President, Kalex Valuations, Inc. Ashley Manis is Vice President, M&A Scandinavia at Lynx Equity Limited. Nunzio Presta, Founder and CEO, Buy and Sell a Business. My name is Marc Belaiche. I'm President of TorontoJobs.ca and TorontoEntrepreneurs.ca. I want to thank you for your time. Today's event, the Canadian Virtual Sell Your Business Conference, presented by TorontoJobs.ca and TorontoEntrepreneurs.ca, and powered by Event Logic with a K.ca. How did you like the event? Let us know. We'll send you a survey to complete within the next 24 hours. Feel free to let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, so we can improve for next time. I want to thank all the speakers and the team as well. Alex, Rachel, Ann, Sandra, Sarah, Carla, a lot of people behind the scenes. TorontoJobs.ca, our sponsor. If you have any staffing needs, feel free to email sales@TorontoJobs.ca, TorontoEntrepreneurs.ca. If you're an entrepreneur, you want to visit the website for upcoming events. OpenRoad.io, OPNRoad.io, also sponsored today. Sell your business like the 1% sell theirs. Sell your company for maximum value using the business selling secrets of the 1%. Visit OpenRoad.io. And TE Capital. Did you know that over 70% of small and medium-sized businesses don't sell? Visit tecapital.ca and let the team help you. A couple of great events coming up in the next few weeks. Canadian Virtual Presidents Conference happens on Wednesday, August 4th, and the Toronto Entrepreneurs Conference on Thursday, August 19th. You can visit Event Logic with a K.ca or TorontoJobs.ca/news, NEWS, for more information. And visit eventlogic.ca if you're interested in sponsoring, exhibiting at, or speaking at an upcoming event as well. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well if there's anything I can help you out with. And don't forget to check out all the YouTube channels for Toronto Entrepreneurs and TorontoJobs.ca for a lot of great videos on a lot of great topics. By the way, if you're interested in buying a small CPA firm, feel free to reach out to me. We have a client who is looking to sell their firm. It can be handled virtually. And also we tack on another 10 minutes at the end of this event. So you still have some time to network through our speed networking, visit our expo and more. So thanks again to each of you on the panel. Thanks to all the speakers. Stay safe and be well. And thanks very much for being here.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.